Hello everyone, and welcome to part 4 of our Luthor Harkon campaign for Curse of the Vampire Coast, where today we'll be going after our final piece of the sea shanty versus, thus unlocking the final battle. Much like before, I never actually managed to leave the Vampire Coast. In the process of upgrading my internal settlements, the next army yet again found me. Which is somewhat disappointing, if I'm honest, because it means I never got a chance to actually hit the seas before the final battles came. You'll notice my army looks much the same as before. The main addition here will be the Necrofex Colossi have replaced my cannonades, thus making them mobile artillery platforms. But besides that, you'll notice the army pretty much exactly the same. That's how quickly this next battle came, one on top of the other. And that's something I will say about Curse of the Vampire Coast, is once you kind of get the ball rolling, these final battles come pretty darn quick. As I said before, these are quest battles, so these were previously designed by Creative Assembly, so they have a very unique feel, and they're asking you to fight them. Now, this is against a High Elf army, and I will admit I had something of a problem with this one, because it turns out High Elves do pretty well against a bunch of stinking zombies. So we have our 3 Banshees, we have our 2 units of Depth Guard, our big best cannonade, and of course our mobile artillery platforms, who will really rack up some serious kills in this game. We have just 2 Rotting Prometheans here. I found that in general they didn't hold the line as well as I would hope they would. You'll also notice that though I do still have my 2 zombie guard units carrying cannons, I don't really depend on them for much of anything here. The gunners will get pretty close, but can't really expect them to actually do much. Alright, and that should be good enough. Gonna get my gunnery white closer to my gun units so he can buff up their abilities, and let's rock and roll. Like I said before, the Vampire Coast doesn't really lend itself to fancy formations, as generally they're too static to really take advantage of most of it. It's just getting your cannons in place and unloading on them. And already you'll notice these Necrofex Colossi are peppering away at folks. I'll turn my gun line, take out their flying unit as fast as possible here, because obviously we don't want him messing with us if we can. We have a unit of Star Dragon, looks like, in the back, and bats? These are hawks. And a second reinforcing army coming up just in case the whole thing goes south. Because if you're going to have a quest battle, why not make it horribly lopsided in your favor? Well, it's the point of campaign. Yet again, though, you'll notice just the short work that this gun line, and especially this mobile artillery, makes of everyone. Necrofex Colossi are ridiculously overpowered in this game. Well, I don't know if they're overpowered, but they definitely make you feel fun while you're playing with them. Get our Dragon Princes charging directly on my line. Looks like they're going to capture a couple, but these guys are meat shields, so I'm not too worried about it. In the meantime, while they're charging into my really expendable gunners there, our cannon platforms will just mop them up. Lock down this flanking army. The whole second army ready to take care of whoever else comes back, but you'll notice it is mainly trash. Typically in this game I would keep a second lord around, and after a battle just raise whatever dead happen to be nearby, thus making a pretty cheap, easy, little reinforcing army. And I don't really depend on them for much other than bogging it down until my main army here finishes tearing this side up, and then we'll obviously turn my line and fire into them. Luthor Harkon continues to be something of a disappointment as far as abilities go. You can shoot, and you'll notice he'll put down some decent damage, but without some sort of splash effect, he feels very weak. You know, he may shoot, but there's a long delay. His attack seems slow. I don't know. I've just, yet again, was never really impressed with him as a lord. Now, later on, we will be able to unlock some magic on him, but initially, anyway, he's just a melee hero who doesn't hit as hard as I expected it to. I suppose I'm used to, you know, Leoncoeur, Grimgor, or any of the lords that come in and just really mess people up, or even Tyrion. Let's go blow some stuff up. We got some Dragon Princes right there. That sounds like a decent enough target, but in the meantime, we can definitely turn all guns toward them. It doesn't matter if you're on a horse, if a gun shoots you, it ends just the same. Ooh. Harkon one-on-one, you know, eventually takes this stuff out. I did invest heavily into melee defense with him, so that is part of the problem, I suppose. And that I wanted to make it so he just wouldn't die, because initially in my first fights with him, he felt very squishy. Much more of a needless feeling hero, so I had to fight against that. Just sort of letting the whole thing mop up here. Bringing those guns to bear. And that's the thing, there's so many units of just simple gunnery mobs, and they're so slow that, yet again, it just takes so long to turn them around and get the guns pointed where you need them to. And they finally point. It's great. It's just, you gotta wait. Launching that Queen Bess up and over. Boom. Finish taking these guys out. Man, I lie, those Necrophix Colossi just are so fun to play with. The main problem in Total War has always been you have cannon platforms and you kind of have to statically put them on the sides, but in this case, mobile cannons are just so much fun to play with. It's kind of what you expected the siege engines for the Empire to be like, but in reality, these do it even to the 10th level above that. They have absolutely no chill. Goodness, just mopping everything up. Cool animations of models too. You can see zombies hanging on top of these weird amalgamation of rotting flesh and, you know, rotting ship. Very cool looking units. The art design in general on the Vampire Coast, they clearly put a lot of time and effort into it. I mean, the barnacles, these are obviously new units. These are not something they copy and pasted from existing factions. And you'll notice, yet again, so Harkon, obviously we had fighting the dragon, so he didn't really do as much, but geez Louise, look at those Necrophix Colossi, just ripping everything apart. Whew. That is definitely who we need to be investing in for future armies. So, share the loot, assimilate some captives, and good to go. But this unlocks our next cutscene now that we have all our shanties together.
The launcher has been constructed, and Stromfeld's lost shanties have been sung. The verses combining into a potent charm, imbuing the harpoon with great power. The final verse revealing a cavern in the deep where Amana lurks.
And just like that, we have unlocked the final battle. But before we do that, I really want to make some time and finish up Harkon's personal quest of healing his fractured mind. So before we teleport down there to do the nasty against our merworm friend, let's finish putting together the perfect army to take into that final fight. And surprises will be had, because that last fight is far more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Like, whoa, it was a really tough fight, but really cool. So, join us next time when we get in there, play that final fight, and despite my best preparations, it will all fall apart. So, thanks for watching, and I hope you're enjoying this Let's Play.